This is terrifying. I hope no one ever has to experience what I did in my life. Back in 1990, I lived in a city in the south of England with my parents and younger brother in an old house built in the 1800s. It had thick stone walls. The house was quite large with many rooms. My favorite room was the music room. It had an old piano in it, which I would play. The room also contained various antiques which were locked away in cupboards. One evening, we had friends over for dinner, and afterwards they left around 10 p.m. My parents went to bed, and my brother and I were downstairs watching TV. The house was very quiet, and it was cold. The heating had been off for a few days because Dad was tinkering with it. The temperature outside that night was about 3 degrees Celsius. We decided to go to bed. Now, before I go on, I should point out that I never believed in ghosts or the supernatural, and even today I don't. Now, I'm a scientist and I believe that everything can be explained by natural phenomena. But what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind. As I was getting into bed, I started to feel unwell. I felt like I had a fever, and I remember thinking this is really weird because earlier I was fine. I don't know if this is relevant to the story, but it might be. I had chickenpox when I was little, and I think this must have been the night that I got the disease. I felt extremely tired, so I went to sleep. In the morning, I felt better and my fever had gone. I went downstairs for breakfast and told my mom that I didn't feel very well the night before. She said that she and my dad had woken up during the night because they could hear me moving around in my room. They couldn't hear me speaking, but they heard footsteps and bumping noises. My brother didn't hear anything because he was a very light sleeper. He had his headphones on blasting Def Leppard, which was his favorite band at the time. After breakfast, I went upstairs to get dressed and take out the rubbish. I went into my room and turned on the light. There was something strange sitting on my bed. It was gray and shapeless and sort of looked like smoke. I remember staring at it and wondering what it was. I was a bit scared, but I walked over to it and then it disappeared. I threw the rubbish in the bin and went downstairs. It was then that I noticed that the floorboards near the fireplace had become loose. This had not happened before. I mentioned this to my mom and she said that Dad would fix them later. And just like that, the whole thing was forgotten about. A few hours later, I went back into my room. Again, there was that gray, shapeless mass sat on my bed. I tried to ignore it, but then it started to move. It moved across the bed towards me. I remember lying on my bed in fetal position, protecting my head with my hands. It floated above me, and suddenly I was filled with an overwhelming sense of evil. The entity was evil. I remember thinking that if it touched me, I would die. I started to cry and then it vanished. I ran out of the room and didn't go back in all day. That night, my parents slept in my room with me and my brother slept alone in his room. In the middle of the night, I woke up and could hear footsteps walking up the stairs. I hid under the covers and my mom and dad did the same. We heard footsteps near my bed and then my door started to open. We shouted for my dad to come and see what was happening. He got out of bed and went over to the door. It opened slowly and a cold breeze blew through the room. My dad closed the door and stood with his back to it. Then we heard knocking from behind the door, knocking like someone was trying to get in. Then we heard footsteps running down the hallway. Later in the morning, my dad told me that he hadn't seen or heard anything. But I know that he had. He was acting weird and wouldn't meet my eyes. I never asked him what he saw. Over the next few weeks, I continued to see the shapeless mass in my room. It was always sat on my bed. It never approached me again after the first time. I was terrified to go to sleep at night. I'd lie in bed with the lights on listening to music until the early hours. My parents eventually decided that I needed to get over whatever it was that was haunting me. They said that they couldn't let me stay in my room with the lights on all night. So I was forced to sleep in pitch black darkness. Every time the lights went out, I thought it would climb on top of me. Then one night, I woke up at 4 a.m. and found my teddy bear sitting on top of me. It was sat on my chest, and its face was close to my face. I screamed and threw it across the room. My teddy bear didn't have a face. It was faceless. I don't remember much after that. I just remember lots of screaming and shouting and darkness. When it was light outside, I went into my room to pick up my teddy bear. That's when I saw the floorboards. Someone had stomped on them, making them buckle. I went to school that day and told my friend Lisa what was happening. She told me to put salt around my room and bless myself with holy water. I went out that afternoon to buy salt, but I couldn't find any. All they had in stock was sugar. I bought that. When I got home, I put sugar around my room. That night, nothing happened. The entity didn't appear and I slept okay. But whenever I ate sweets after that, I felt sick because I associated sugar with that night. Later, we had a priest come to our house to bless it. He walked around each room and sprinkled holy water. I don't remember him saying a prayer, but maybe he did. Afterwards, things settled down. I didn't see the shapeless mass again, but the floorboards remained buckled. Years later, my dad decided to investigate the floorboards. He lifted up the carpet to inspect the damage. Underneath the carpet was a large circle. He used a sharp object to scratch the surface of the circle. As he did this, he uncovered writing. The writing was ancient Arabic. He took a photo of it before replacing the carpet. We never had it translated, but I wish we had. I'm now going to share what I think happened. Years ago, I read about an ancient civilization called the Nabateans. They lived in what is now Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. They are known for building monumental tombs. But what's relevant here is that they worshipped a deity called Attis. Attis was an earth god. He was sometimes depicted as a bull. They worshipped him by carving symbols into the ground. These symbols were often circles with lines coming out of them. They believed that their markings would allow them to communicate with the spirit world. I think that the Nabatean people somehow influenced whoever built my house. It seems likely that they carved a summoning circle into the floorboards. I think that's why I got chickenpox when I got ill. Chickenpox is a disease of the gods. When the entity climbed onto my bed, I think that's when I got very sick. I think it passed some kind of curse onto me. Maybe it wanted me to get ill so that it would stop bothering me. But then I didn't die, which is what it expected. Maybe it thought I was special because I was sleeping in the place where its master was summoned. There are many different types of genies in Islamic belief. Some are good and others are evil. It's possible that the genie that visited me was good. It may have been trying to protect me from the evil genie that was sealed underneath the floorboards. Whatever the truth is, I am glad that I am now an adult, because if such things can happen when I was a child, who knows what could happen today?